Hey guys, my name's TimeTravelPenguin, and welcome to episode 2 of Behind the Streams. Today we've got the guest, an Australian streamer, partner Twitch streamer, PeekingBoo. How's it going, Boo?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So, you're a full-time Twitch streamer, and you're also a speedrunner, but you do things slightly different. So do you want to kind of elaborate what you do exactly?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a full-time streamer, but what I do is I do it part-time, and so therefore, I kind of don't do it as frequently as what other full-time streamers would, and yeah, it's exciting because people expect a full-length stream, and then when it ends, they're like, "Wow, you're so fast! What a great speedrunner!" But no, I speedrun games using DDR dance pads. So I guess if we've got video footage here, that's this crap behind me just here. But yeah, so I beat games with my legs, and it's a crazy heck load of fun, and yeah.
Yeah, so you use DDR pads, and I think it's quite crazy because, for a long time, half of the games you speed, I only speedrun 2 games, but they were better than my times, and that was really embarrassing for a really long time because it was dude can beat me with his feet, and I can't even play the game normally.
I mean, so, I'm not going to brag or anything like that. It's just, it takes me a long time to grind out a time like that. It might take me 6 months to get a time that you may have just done a couple of times and then gone, this game's not for me, I'm moving on,
Yeah.
So yeah, people kind of just see the end result and go, wow, this is crazy, but it's a lot more than, a lot more work goes into it.
It's interesting because it's interesting because I watched you play Celeste was one of the most recent games you played, and inevitably ended up speedrunning. And, that's a very recent game. It only came out a couple of months ago. And I got onto that bandwagon probably I think it came out the 20th or something of March, I think it was. Or something around that time.
I think it was January or February. I think it was. Was it? Yeah, it was definitely before February.
Yeah, well, I pretty much, whenever it was, I kind of got onto it at the end of the month. Okay. So, I found that you were streaming it, and I was checking you out play it, and when you were just playing it casually. And I remember thinking, I was like, this dude is playing it just as good or better than I was on, your first couple of playthroughs of different levels. And it's interesting because I can't, it's the same, I guess, learning curve for you with your feet as it is with me and my hands, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't start off that way, obviously. When I first started playing games like this, I was horrible. I've got footage of just exactly how bad I was. And the thing is, I've been archiving everything that I've ever done since day one. So, I started in August 2014, I think it was. And I've been going ever since, but it's taken me those near 4 years to kind of play, I guess, as well as what an average controller user would, but only for platformers at this point. I can't. It doesn't transfer over to other types of games too well. So right. I'm still not super good with Celeste by any means, but I'm at least I'm on par with the average person, I'd say.
I mean.
Okay, look. Look, let me just be modest, all right? I'm not going to be here to tune my own horn. You can say whatever you want, but
no, man, toot it as much as you want. That's why you're here.
Okay.
To give credit where it's due.
Sure.
You can learn to play a game and be good at it. And you say, man, that guy's really good at games. He spent a lot of time playing it. You do that with other speedrunners, and it's the same thing with you. You've been using a DDR pad for so long that it's almost second nature. You can pick up almost any platformer, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's almost exactly the same. Whereas if, anyone else who might have experience with DDR but have never used it as a controller, they wouldn't have that same, they wouldn't be as comfortable.
That's certainly something I've tried to encourage other DDR players to do. is to give it a go. I don't know how many actually have or how many, do, but, there are a couple of people out there that, have kind of pushed the envelope a little bit in a couple of ways. Some of them have also got into doing a couple of speed runs as well, which is nice. But yeah, for the most part, like, it's kind of weird. Like, in one sense, I'm doing this, like, I guess, unique and crazy thing to most people. But at the same time, I find that when I'm doing this stuff, I have no one that I can kind of relate to. Like, there's no one that I can talk to about it and be like, yeah, like, you can understand how hard this is, or you can understand why I do it this way, instead of, why didn't you map the jump button to the up arrow so it's next to the left and right arrows, you idiot? It's like,
it's
I don't know.
Kind of like
There's
the
so
same
many.
with others.
Yeah, there's just so many like little intricacies like that that get lost on I guess a general audience. That it kind of sucks for me, unfortunately.
No, I mean, in some ways that's not necessarily a bad thing, because although you're really like you're the only person I know, and I was going to ask you if there are other people that do this sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I would imagine there's like a few people that might do certain speedruns, but not, I guess, like you, where you're like, hey, I'm going to speedrun every game I enjoy with a DDR pad.
For sure, yeah.
And it's cool because you like, even if you don't speedrun it, you still play all your games with a DDR pad. Do you do streams without a DDR pad?
I used to. So like way back, I think 2015 or so, was kind of where I got not into speedrunning, but I started watching speedruns. Just to give you a bit of a backstory, I guess. The first time I got into watching speedruns, aside from watching Siglemic back in 2011 or so, first time I ever got into speedruns was I was casually playing through Mario Sunshine, which was a really hard game for me at the time. So hard, in fact, that I had mini streams that I did during the week to practice the upcoming levels, so that when I did my main performance, I could actually do it. And so when I was doing that, that's actually when I had Raisefire come into my stream for the first time ever. And I never heard of the dude. He was just completely new to me and stuff like that. And he was just like, man, this is crazy. I speedrun this game, but this is nuts. And so he dropped me a follow. I dropped him a follow. Then I started watching speedruns, and I was like, this is cool. And then, I started watching other speedrunners and thought, this is really cool. And just after a while, once I got more comfortable with beating games, then I tried to go back to games that I beat to try and speedrun them. Mario Sunshine, for example, which is the game that I was initially struggling with, I think was also my first attempt at a speedrun. I think I did. And it took me 4.5 hours to just beat Mario Sunshine outright. And that was like hell. that was
could
hell
imagine.
For me. Yeah.
I could imagine. It's like,
I was tired, I was angry, I was hurting. It was just, it was not the best.
That's a really difficult game to speedrun in general. That was one of the games I wanted to learn to speedrun. Like, I never had a GameCube when I was a kid, so it was like I wanted to either get a GameCube or by other means pick it up, give it a go. And like, I started playing it, I think it was this year, or maybe it was late last year. I picked it up for the first time. Okay. And I guess it's one of those games. Oh my god, there's a fly, dude! It's killing me. it's like one of those games where it's like, I think it's like, if you don't have the controller, it's probably harder than playing it normally. Because that's a really hard game to play control-wise, in my opinion.
I wasn't actually expecting you to say that. I thought you were going to say, man, I'm so used to modern games that playing Mario Sunshine just feels weird. Because playing Mario Sunshine feels freaking weird. I can't actually play it with a controller at all. I find it... I find it terrible to control.
I know what you mean. It is a hard game to control as well. But I think, like, the reason I guess I didn't say that is because, in a way, like, the more you play a game, the more you get used to it. Like, I guess... The one game I had trouble learning the controls of wasn't even a speed game. It was a game I played casually last year on the PS4. It was Final Fantasy 15 when that came out. Okay. And like the controls weren't hard, but it was like, certain buttons were in spots I guess I didn't expect, and they
Yeah.
had some really unique controls, in my opinion. I've never played games like that. Mind you, I don't play a lot of games.
Yeah.
But it's like once you play it for a couple of hours though, and you get used to the combat and the movement, you eventually master it and you get used to it. And I would assume things like Super Mario Sunshine would be the same, where once you play it, you know, not a substantial amount, but like, you know, a couple hours, you'd get used to it. But I still think the controls are a bit funny, but I've never played it on a proper GameCube controller, so I don't know. But like I know what you mean when you say like you could play it with a DDR pad but not with a controller for sure, because
Yeah. So the
like,
thing about the thing about I guess Mario Sunshine compared to say your example of Final Fantasy 15 is that, you know, obviously Mario is designed to be simple. You know, you move forward, you jump, and you dive or use FLUDD. That's like your basic controls. I understand where you're coming from, because I have the same sort of issue with playing Breath of the Wild. I find there's like so many different buttons and things that you have to do in that game that I can't kind of get myself into the rhythm of playing it. But yeah, like with Sunshine, it was just it was just small things. It was like the camera, for example, is inverted compared to how most game cameras work. You know, it works the same way that Mario 64 did with the C buttons, but you're using the stick.
Yes.
And so things like that, it just made it a lot harder to control because you were doing the angles the wrong way. And so what made that easier for me with dance pads is that I could just remap it to be however I wanted. So in that sense, it became easier for me because I could change the controls, not because, you know, the game was actually, because the game was actually hard out of the box.
I think I did the same when I started learning Super Mario 64, because I played that game when I was, you know, a kid. We used to have a Nintendo 64. We eventually got rid of it to get new consoles and stuff. But like when I picked it up for the first time, I was like, oh wow, these controls are back to front. But yeah, like I guess after a while, it just felt weird to have it back to front.
Yeah.
You know, in its own weird way, it's one of those games that just, it works back to front, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah. When I started playing Mario Odyssey, which is, you know, the first Mario game to have a free camera since Sunshine, pretty much, I had to put the left and right camera scrolling back to front so it was like Sunshine, because because that's what I was used to. Same as when I played A Hat in Time, I had to do the exact same thing of flipping the camera rotations back to front, because, you know, I had gotten so used to doing it with Sunshine that I just can't do it with other games now, and it's frustrating. But as long as I can keep remapping my controls, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's
one of the questions is, I mean, I know what you mean. It's I had the same problem with A Hat in Time, but like, I know, I guess I kind of just dealt with it until it worked.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's probably why I sucked at the game for so long. So one of the things I was curious about asking was, when you do speedrun with a DDR pad, between games, is there like certain things that change routing wise between using a controller versus a DDR pad? Like, obviously when you do, for example, in Super Mario 64, you do, rather than doing the bomb clip in Bomb on Battlefield, you use the box method. But like in games in general, are there certain aspects that are different between, you know, DDR versus handheld?
Usually, I mean, yes, I guess. I don't know. It's that's a tricky one, because what it comes down to is, first of all, are there any time-saving glitches to exploit? And then following that, it's a case of how much time does it save versus how much time does it lose trying to get it right.
Right. And so it's kind of like, if there's a glitch and it's better to just deal with it than do it the long way. It's better to do the glitch. Whereas, I guess, for example, bomb clip, the alternative being box clip, because it's accessible and it's only slightly slower, it's beneficial to do that.
Exactly.
And it's substantially easier. Yeah, because Like other than like glitch wise. So for example, in Super Mario 64, which it's an easy example to use. It's probably one of the most well-known speed games.
Sure.
One of. Like, is there a major routing differences between you and other speedrunners?
I try my best not to really look at other speedruns, as bad as that is to say. Like, I'm kind of just... I'm not making it up as I go, but like I see what the major tricks are, and then I try to do as many of them as I can, and then any of them that I can't do, I try to just kind of make up an alternative route. So like
MIPS, so it's kind of like rather than doing the speedrunning gameplay, you're just kind of like playing the game normally, but fast.
Yeah, that's I'm pretty much doing a fast let's play. That's the easiest way to say it. But like, it's I do try to optimize my movement where I can. Mario 64, for example, is it's because it's so old and it has been broken in so many different ways. There's a lot of things that are exploitable, and there's a lot of exploitable things that I can also do because of how the game works. And so a lot of the tricks that are there for players to take advantage of, most of them I can actually do. It's just ones that require multiple button presses at the same time that I kind of struggle with because I only have 2 feet.
Yes.
So that's kind of where...
I see you often trying to press 2 buttons with 1 foot, and you kind of like toggling between the 2 at the same time, and I'm just thinking, dude... How do you do that?
Yeah, well, in the case of Bomb Clip, that's 4 buttons with 2 feet that I'd have to press.
Oh wow!
Because the way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to pick up the bob-omb, and then you're supposed to do a double jump and then throw it forward on the second jump, which means that I have to be holding left, jump, and B, right? So that's 3 buttons. But then I also have to jump ahead of the bob-omb that I've just thrown, quickly hold right, and then press B again, and then try to get the rest of the clip. So it's a lot of inputs in a small amount of time and space that I just don't have the precision for. So just pushing a box up to the corner and crouching is a lot faster. And then if I mess that up, I can just ground pound on the post that's there. So it's very minimal.
So it's pretty cool how the routing. It's not necessarily hugely different, but it's very. It's pretty straightforward as to how to do this fly. It's like flying around, man.
Do you want a moment to smack it? Do you want a moment to smack it?
No, man. We're just gonna it's our special guest, like special guest. We got PeekingBoo and we got Peking Fly, man.
We got fucking flies, yeah.
We're just gonna deal with that.
But yeah,
no, you like. Sorry, go on.
So with that being said, though, like I guess this is where the routing differences come in. There are certain things that are very difficult for me to do. One example would be in Womp's Fortress, where you get the owl out of the tree and then you ride the owl up to the top and then drop down and collect a star. That's how I do it, but most speedrunners will do the owlless trick, which is to basically jump into the cage very precisely. And that
I can't even do that normally. It's like so hard.
I've
never done that.
I've never attempted to do it, but the reason I don't is because it would take me too long to get up to the top in the first place. And then to perform the trick and fail it would cost more time than just getting the owl in the first place. So, there's just things like that where
it's a very precise thing.
Yeah, I'll just do the intended route because there's no reason not to. Yeah.
It's a very precise thing, but I like that about DDR speedrunning, I guess, is because you like assuming there is a competitive community, like theoretically, then then it would be competitive in the sense that I guess there's human limitations which are substantially less when it comes to handheld, because when you're doing handheld, a lot of the time pro runners, they have like some crazy muscle memory. But I think when it comes to using your feet, I'd assume it'd be a little bit more lax than it would be with your hands. Yeah,
it depends on the game. It definitely depends on the game. I guess my reaction time is probably the thing that that gets affected the most, because instead of it just being a twitch of a thumb or just a quick press of a finger, I have to kind of shift my entire body to do one action. And so, there are certain things that are just impossible for me, or borderline impossible, like backward long jumps, for example. I can do those, and don't get me wrong, like it's something that I'm happy I can do, but I cannot do them very well, because the rapid movement of just holding the Z button down and then mashing A with your heel is just it's too much to do consistently, and what will happen after a while is your muscles will tighten up as well. So
I mean, to be fair, like that trick in general, because I've got a background in tool-assisted speedrunning for Super Mario 64. You've got to push the A button like once every 4 frames. You've got a 4-frame. Well, not every 4 frames. You've got a little bit of a gap in between, but when you land, you've actually only got 4 frames on the ground to hit the A button. So in general, it's a very hard trick to do, but I could imagine using your foot, it would be like, you're doing a dance, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I watched you do that. I watched that, I watched your PB on Super Mario 64 16 star, and you got it first go, and I was just like, what? Like,
yeah, that disgusts me, honestly.
I have trouble doing it.
That disgusts me. That killed any potential for me to speedrun that game again. I've had that 2258 PB for so long, and the thing that sucks is that I'm consistently getting to the BLJs a minute ahead. And I can't do the BLJs. I just choke on them every time. Yeah, and so it's just a thing that's killed it for me, and I know that I'm capable of more, but it's just that barrier that I can't get through.
Oh, so. I know what you mean, because it's exactly the same for me. Like, I got to the 22-minute mark, and it was the same problem. Like, BLJs, when I first started speedrunning, I knew that was going to be a killer. Like a lot of speedrunners were like, hang on, okay, guys, if you're starting to speedrun this game, you need to learn BLJs if you want to minimize your time.
Yep.
And so I spent hours just doing BLJ after BLJ after BLJ.
Yep.
Mind you, I was speedrunning on a PAL version at the time because I only have a PAL Nintendo 64, being Australian. But still, it was like I would do it again and again and again to practice it. And then I took, 6 months to a year off, and I came back. And then the whole problem was that I lost that timing, and I moved to NTSC. But it was the same thing. I got 22 minutes. I'd get to the BLJ part, and then I'd just choke. And then I would never PB. And then I think I only got a PB this year or end of last year.
Right.
I got it down to 20 minutes, just under 21 minutes. I think it's like 20:50 something.
Okay.
But and it was just, that's where I choke every time, is at the BLJ. It's the exact same problem. So it's really cool to see that between speedrunning and speedrunning on a controller and on DDR pad. Obviously, DDR pad is going to be harder in every aspect, but the main problems are just as much as a problem for a DDR speedrunner in some aspects.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's funny you should mention that about how you stopped for a while, and then you changed to NTSC, which of course affected your timing, because sort of a similar thing happened with me when I moved house. I actually changed the way my whole computer setup worked in terms of how DDR connects to my computer and stuff like that, and that actually changed the timing of my inputs, because I always have input latency when I do any of my any of my movements, and so it's been greatly reduced, but I'm still used to pressing buttons ahead of time to accommodate for that delay. And so what has been happening anyway is when I start to do a BLJ, I am pressing the long jump button before I've even landed, and so Mario just sits there. He doesn't even jump. And it just drives me nuts. And so I can't get used to that new timing because I've got an old visual cue in my muscle memory.
Yeah, I guess you just got to take a long break and eventually come back to it or something.
Well, that's what I do. Every couple of months I come back and see how it is and get mad and then go back and wait another couple of months.
So on the topic of on the topic of like hardware, I've always wondered how when you get a console, is there like people in the community that kind of figure out how to get it working connected like to the DDR pad, or is that something you've got to work out on your own?
Yeah, it's what I have to work out, which sucks.
Wow.
So for convenience sake, pretty much everything before the Wii U slash PS4 generation, that's all emulated, and that's mostly out of convenience. Because trying to connect, let's say for example, trying to connect a dance pad to a computer to a Nintendo 64. You'd have to be doing a lot of wiring, and there'll be crap everywhere. Same with the GameCube, same with Super Nintendo. There'd just be wires going everywhere. It would be absolute hell. So they are left to emulation. Emulation, thankfully, has come far enough with those consoles that, for the most part, it's not super noticeable. Whenever I'm doing a speed run, I make sure that I'm running on the right emulator and the right version and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, that's how I roll with other consoles like the Wii U and the 3DS, for example. That's the homebrew scene. So Nintendo likes to make really weird standards for their hardware, and people love busting that stuff open. So that's not really something that I have to learn to do, but more a case of I have to research and hope that someone has done the work for me. And then usually it's just a case of following a guide of how to hack the Wii U or how to hack the 3DS, and then installing whatever homebrew software on there and the appropriate software on the computer, and then if everything else goes okay, it's usually good. And then
I know what you mean when it's like you've got to, I guess, work it out if it doesn't exist, because one of the things I've always wanted to do was, being in the tassing community, was to build a TASBot, which is where you take we've got special emulators that can play back a file, which is just inputs, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, and it tells the input to do on each frame. And then if you want to do it to a console, you've got to put you got to use like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi or something, and you got to build a device to input those controls for you. And a lot of the time it requires software to interpret the files that you use. For example, with the program we use, it's a file extension M64, and you've got to build a program to interpret that, send that to the Arduino, and then send that to the console. And it's such a nightmare because I was watching tutorials on it, and I'm pretty sure you've got to you got to more or less build like the output of the controller. Your controller has a plug that plugs into the console, and then that connects to the circuit boards. And you've got to essentially do the same thing. You've got to like solder stuff to things, and it's like really messy, and it's a huge nightmare. But like I'd imagine alternatively, if you had to do that, you'd have to do the same thing where you just have to like pull stuff apart or build components to connect to your consoles, and it would just be utterly disgusting and
exactly
such a nuisance.
Yeah, and that's what's good about consoles from the Wii U generation onward, is that what has started taking off is that people, or companies I should say, have started building adapters where people can, people might not like a certain controller for one console, but will like the games on that console. So like someone will go, I want to use my PS4 controller on an Xbox One, and then there'll be a company going, well, I have an adapter for that. And so what started happening is they make global adapters that can then be updated. And so I've got just this one adapter that I can use for the PS4, the Xbox One, and I think the Wii U as well, but I haven't fiddled with that. I don't know. Anyway, it's not important. But they did update it recently so that it works with the Switch as well. And so just, with no effort on my part, I can just play Switch games. And so
you've got it working.
Yeah, and so typically with other consoles, I'm waiting for there to be a breakthrough in homebrew or something like that. But with the Switch, I'm able to play games as soon as they come out instead of waiting years in hope that someone makes something. So it's really exciting moving forward with all these current gen consoles. where I can actually still keep up with the demand of what people want to watch.
Yeah, I think that's good because like it's being Nintendo, and I think Nintendo is one of the most popular, I guess, speedrun titles in some aspects. People just like to make stuff for the speedrunning community or whatever, in general. And like I guess that's what makes it, I guess, so quick to have that sort of stuff made. Whereas, I don't know, I guess other stuff, I feel, I could be wrong, I feel that it would probably take a little longer for other stuff because someone's actually got to, get up and do that. But yeah.
A lot of it comes from the demand, really. The thing about Nintendo is that their games are only going to be on a Nintendo console. But you might not necessarily want to buy into all of their gimmicky controllers or things like that. Like the thing that kind of sparked all of the homebrew stuff to use alternative control schemes on the Wii U, for example, was that people wanted to play Splatoon with a keyboard and mouse. And so it started with that. They got a keyboard and mouse connected to the Wii U by sending the inputs from a laptop that was pretending to be the gamepad. That's actually
why I lose.
Yeah. That's basically how that started. And then it kind of evolved from there, where they just started putting homebrew applications that then also let you use any controller that you wanted.
Wow.
And so it's crazy the lengths people will go to play Nintendo specific games without wanting to use their horrible controllers, which, for what it's worth, is not my opinion. That's just the general consensus is that we don't want to use your giant baby toddler pad. We want to use big boy things. But
yeah, it was the same with I guess one of the things that started, from what I remember, a huge thing was on Overwatch when that came to console, because people were using keyboard and mouse to outplay other players who were using controller.
Yeah.
And like it's the same thing, it's good in some ways but bad in the others. I don't know. It's But yeah, it's in every aspect.
Not to derail everything, but I don't necessarily agree with that point, simply because if you've ever used a keyboard and mouse on a console game, the thing you have to keep in mind is that the camera doesn't follow the point of your mouse. The mouse will scroll your camera as though it was an analog stick. So it's not necessarily accurate. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily give you an advantage. I feel it's just one of those things where someone might just be more comfortable using a mouse and then just gets used used to that motion.
Yeah,
but it definitely doesn't
completely
feel
agree.
one-to-one.
No, I know what you mean. But yeah, that's just like one of the things that pops into my head, like outside of speedrunning, I guess. So one of the things that I actually don't know, and I'm very curious about, have you ever been to a convention and done your DDR stuff?
No. Okay, no.
I've
been to a convention and I've played actual DDR, which is that's fun. There's already a crowd there, so they start forming behind you, and of course every now and then you get assholes that try to distract you and stuff like that. But that's just kind of how it goes. No, I've never had my stuff set up at a convention, and there's a very good reason for that, and it's simply because it's not portable.
Right.
Yeah, it's not easy for me to move everything, and for me to just do that for like a weekend and then bring it back into my third floor apartment is not. It's just not convenient, and it's not worth the time or the hassle. So, it's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those things where, if we're friends, I'll invite you over to my house and embarrass you, but otherwise, you just have to see it on stream.
So, just have GDQ at your apartment is what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, they had their chance with the Harvey relief done quick, and they didn't want to. So, that's on them, not me.
What can you do?
Yeah. Well, okay. No, that being said, I do want to expand out. I do want to do this sort of thing in in some sort of public
in like
scene.
other senses.
Yeah, I don't really know how I would do that, because the thing is, if I change, not if I change my setup, but if I have a different setup to what I'm used to, that affects
it's like using a different controller.
everything. Yeah. It would be like using, you go to your friend's house, even though you have like a GameCube of your own, you go to your friend's house and they have like that fat third-party controller that has a turbo button in the middle. Like it's that sort of thing. Like it doesn't feel right, you can't play right, and it's just messy. So it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, I would like to see a lot more like not like specifically DDR related, but more uncommon speedruns. One of the most amazing speedruns I've ever seen was a one-handed speedrun of Super Mario 64.
Was that Peaches?
It was a couple years back, and the guy
I think that was Peaches.
destroyed my run at the time, and I was blown away. I was like, this guy plays with one hand. How do you do that?
Yeah, if that was a GDQ, I think that was Peaches.
It might have been.
Yeah, I don't
Sounds
know. Anyway,
familiar.
Maybe I'm
don't
just
remember.
Maybe I'm just sticking to that name, and it's probably someone completely different. But anyway,
But it's the same thing.
I know what you mean.
Like even I don't think it's ever happened. I would love to see more blindfolded runs at GDQ. Actually, I think it has happened, but it might have happened before I started watching GDQ. I love blindfolded runs. They are amazing. They take a while, so
For sure.
you could really only do it with smaller games.
Yeah.
But I still think that'd be really cool to see more of.
Dude, blindfolded Mike Tyson's Punch Out has been a thing recently, which
Yes,
is
that's right.
which is crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, I think at the last GDQ they did a blind one. I think, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's the same. Like it's stuff like that, like one-handed or weird controllers, like people who run games with like the Nintendo Power Glove or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
how do you do that? I
Yeah,
love
for
seeing
sure.
stuff like that, like unique stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, no pun intended, but I kind of shot myself in the foot with having a DDR setup because I said no pun intended. Don't laugh at that, because I can't move it anywhere. If I was smarter and like other people have done, I would play games with the DK bongos, or I would, if I was like Rudism, I would make my own controllers, or I don't know, I'd use like one of those fishing rod controllers or something like that. There's so many outlets, and I chose to do the most.
You just use a normal controller, but
one.
with your feet.
Hey, people have done that too. I'm not a big fan of that. It grosses me out.
Really?
But that's just
People
me.
have done that?
Oh yeah.
Wow,
for sure.
I've got to look that one up.
Okay.
So one of the things that you recently released was a behind-the-scenes video. And
Oh, Lord. Yep.
both, like, I didn't know you did it until my brother said, dude, look at this. And you showed your
Okay.
general setup. You showed some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But what blew me away was the Excel, the stuff you've done in Microsoft Excel. So do you want to explain what you do in Excel and why I guess you do it that way?
Oh crap. Sure, I can do that. I'm just looking at it right now, going, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff on here. Where do I begin? Okay,
I guess just
so,
like as a general whole.
Yeah, don't worry. I've got a general breakdown. So I guess a bit of backstory first of all. My overlay, my interactive overlay, which is completely gimmicky, and a lot of the speedrunning scene doesn't like it because it detracts from the gameplay, is made in Flash. And as we all know, Flash is definitely on the way out in terms of browser compatibility, and it's just a mess. But the reason I use Flash is because I draw in Flash, and so it's just easier to keep everything packaged together in one. So because of that, I kind of have a couple of options. I need to be able to send things from chat and send alerts and things like that from other applications like Streamlabs and what have you to the overlay, so that alerts appear on screen and stuff like that. But what starts to happen is Flash freaks out and doesn't know how to handle some data, and Some things get lost, and if it crashes, for example, then I lose anything for that session. So I decided to kind of make a middleman, which is Excel. And so what I have is a spreadsheet that will look at any incoming alerts from Streamlabs or my bot or chat or anything like that, and it will store all of the information that comes in, and then it'll push all of that information out to a single text file that the overlay then reads. And the overlay will just look at every variable in that text file, compare it to the variables that it already has within itself, and just check if they're different. And then if they're different, it'll do an alert. That's the general thing. So hopefully I kept that as simple as possible. But yeah, Excel
that makes sense.
Yeah, Excel is just there as a sort of filter for all the data that's going in. And then if Flash crashes for whatever reason, I still have all the data saved in Excel. So then when I reload the overlay, everything is the same as it was. And so, sorry, go.
I just think that's like crazy, like in an awesome way, because I've never seen anyone do that. I know like GDQ do something similar. They don't use Excel. They use a web page sort of thing. I don't remember what it's called for all of their scenes and all that, the graphical side of their streams.
Sure.
But like I've never seen anyone do it with Excel, and it just blew me away, because I asked you on stream, I was like, how does this work? How does Excel work? And you said, it's you can use Visual Basic in it, I think you said.
Yep, that's right.
In Excel?
Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's just got its own programming console for Visual Basic. So if you know how to do VB script, you pretty much know how to do anything with Excel. And so, I do all of the alert side of things, but then I also, I can use it to change the scene, for example. I can use it to determine which webcam is on and things like that. And then, I can use it to update my stream titles and what have you. So it's, it's got a lot of application. It just really comes down to whether or not it's, I guess, suitable for your own needs, it definitely meets my needs, but it's also, it's also very personal. Dumb.
Yeah, it's very personal. It's very user specific. Like for me, I don't use a lot of things. I have I'm not a big fan of overlays, because I know after a while they just look old, and then you've got to get a new one, or you got to make it better in some way. And then I don't know, I just kind of didn't like that. So for me, it's just like, bam, there's my game, and then me in a green screen in the bottom corner. I might have most recent subscribers or bit donators, whatever, up in the top corner, and then that's about it. And it's like, it's very minimal and lazy.
I mean, that's it's not lazy. It's perfectly fine. There are probably just as many people that like my overlay as there are that people that dislike my overlay, and unfortunately that's just kind of that's just kind of the full package of my stream. I'm an artist and animator, and to a small extent a programmer as well, and I like seeing what stupid stuff I can do and then putting it in the stream.
I gotta say, your art side of things is the aesthetic is on point, because when I first saw you, I was wondering who did it, and then you told me it was you. And I was like,
that freaks people out.
You have your I guess I didn't expect it, because it's on a level where a lot of people who do their own stuff, you got to learn that when you do things on Twitch, you have, I guess it's like branding in a way. You have to have your whether it be your website or your banners, your overlay, your little title images in your information.
Yep.
Like they've got to all have a theme, and yours, everything is that theme. Even your website for your schedule, you've got a schedule that updates all the time, and it's the same thing. Heck, I found an old Tumblr page, and it was the same thing. I didn't even know you could do that on Tumblr, but you did. It blows me away, but...
So I actually started out on Tumblr. So Tumblr is where I started learning to draw and animate. And, you know, I was kind of just doing fan art and then getting popular that way. And
Yeah.
then I realized that Tumblr is a dead-end platform, so I decided to not do that anymore. And that was also around the time that, for some stupid reason, I just got into streaming. I don't even know. I think what was happening is I was streaming my art on Ustream and Picado, I think. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
I've heard of Ustream. I have never heard of Picado.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I did it a couple of times, and I mean, it was, you know, I didn't have any viewer interaction or anything like that, but I was just kind of, you know, recording time lapses of the art that I was doing. And I mean, it was nice, but it was just, I couldn't see myself continuing to do it. Like, I just kind of burned out after a while.
Yep.
And then, yeah, this whole Twitch thing kind of came around, and, you know, it didn't take off or anything, but I found it really fun. So that's why it's been going for so long. But yeah.
So how long did it take you when you started streaming to get to be a partner on Twitch? How long were you streaming?
So like I said, first stream ever was August 6th, 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. And so where are we now? 2018. So I've been partnered for just over a year. I think it's been about 14 or 15 months. So yeah, I got partnered in February 2017. So
okay.
Yeah, so there you go. That's 2.5. That's actually 2.5 years.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years that it took to go from nothing to partnership. But that's with, you know, my stupid gimmick and the fact that I'm in Australia as well. You know, there's very, I guess there's things that maybe don't get talked about a lot, but Twitch have a number of partnership teams, you know, all over the world. You know, they have, say, a US one. I think they have I think it's a Spanish one, and then they have a Australian division as well. And so what they basically have is a bunch of different partnership teams that look specifically at that country and then see how you're doing compared to other people in that country. So therefore, you know, Australia isn't being compared to the US, which has a much bigger viewer base and things like that. So even though even though I'm partnered, I'm partnered based on how well I was doing in Australia as opposed to how well I was doing, you know, compared to the rest of the world.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I always thought it was just like I knew that some people are, you know, like I know some people get 70 consistent viewers and they get partnership, or some people get, you know, 20 consistent viewers and they get partnership. But I mean, I guess that makes more sense because, you know, as you said, America might have a higher standard than Australia or other parts of the country, other parts of the world.
It's not so much a higher standard, it's a higher concentration of streamers.
Yes.
You know, when you've got so many streamers in the US, you need to set the bar a lot higher. But then when you consider Australia, that first of all doesn't really have the internet to stream that well in the first place, you know, it's very hard to kind of pick out representatives of that country when there aren't very many. So you need to lower the bar. You need to, you know, kind of build off, I guess, a smaller foundation, but a foundation nonetheless. Yeah, and so
it's also hard in a way because, like in Australia, because we're ahead in the time zones. It's hard for us to stream and get a large viewer base as well. So I guess there's like different strategies. I think to getting to I guess partnership.
Pretty much, you either have to stream all through the night and live nocturnal, so that you can catch, you know, primetime US and primetime EU hours, or you kind of just have to go at your own pace and hope for the best, which is kind of what I've been doing. It's a lot rarer, I think, but I find the people who stream, like just kind of however they can, they seem to more often than not be more entertaining in certain aspects. Obviously, it's variable by the streamer themselves, but I love seeing Australian streamers. I only watch two at the moment, you and Lacey Stripes. Okay.
And
Well, she's partnered,
It's-
so we're clearly doing something
Yeah,
right.
she is. Yeah, like I remember when I first watched her, she was only just starting out. I think she had only been streaming for I don't know, a couple of months.
Okay.
And I found her during a raid from, I think it was Spaceman 1774. And I'm pretty sure like we raided her, and I just hung around ever since then. And she got partnered, a year or two ago. So like I started watching her, and then one day she got partnered, and it was amazing because, being that I'm Australian myself, it kind of gives you what's the word? It kind of like
Motivation, inspiration.
makes you feel like it's kind of like it makes you feel that you can do it yourself if you're a streamer from such a smaller stream base.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I guess I should add to that as well. You don't have to have a high quality stream. You just have to be a high quality entertainer. And
Absolutely.
that's again, I'm not tooting my own horn here because people find entertainment however they do it, But what I mean by that, and I want to use another streamer as an example, is Waddy, for example. I don't know if you know who Waddy is.
I don't think I've ever heard of them, no.
Okay, but he's a dude that reached partnership a couple of years ago, kind of just when I only had about 500 followers or so. So I was still kind of very new to the game, but he got partnered after I think only having about 1,000 or 2,000 followers, and his bitrate, for example, is under 1,000.
Oh wow!
So like he streams, or he did stream at pretty much like 360/480p.
Okay.
And he still managed to get there, some way or another. And so yeah, it's not all about having like the best equipment and the best visual quality and what have you. You can just be a good, entertaining person and still make it that way as well.
Yeah,
So-
like when I was talking to Chris last week, I said to him that one of the things that makes a good streamer is when you can watch someone who might be a speedrunner or have, I guess, a theme they play to, and then if they're able to completely throw that out of the window and play a game that you're not interested in, and if you can still find that entertaining, then they're probably a good streamer. Like, again, I watched Spaceman. He's probably one of my favorite streamers. I've known him for like 4 years. And I've just watched his channel grow, and he's such a cool dude. And it's like, I just enjoyed his speedruns back in the day. And nowadays, it's, he might pick up a game that I'm not so much interested in, such as World of Warcraft, and he'll play that. But I'm still so happy just to watch and be a part of that community. I guess community is another side of it as well. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's like, I mean, there's the personality, and then there's the uniqueness, I guess, where with you, your uniqueness would be that you use DDR instead of controller. And for me, it's like, even if it's not a game I would personally enjoy myself, just watching you and your feet go crazy, it's mesmerizing. And maybe that's why people watch you. They don't like you. They just it's just like hypnosis.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
you.
think.
The
Yeah,
secret's out.
they don't like me at all. I totally don't have a personality or good looks.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very tricky to get to that point because there's just.
Well, dude,
people,
what
I've talked.
Yeah, sorry, just to cut you off. What I've
No,
actually
you're right.
noticed recently is mobile users, for example. If you watch the stream in landscape mode, the chat will cover the right-hand side of the screen, which means that
Really?
most mobile users, if they're in landscape mode, don't even know that I'm using dance pads.
Oh my god, they just like you, man. They just like you.
Well, no, I don't know if they stick
That's-
around.
I
I'm
didn't-
just saying.
I didn't
I'm
know
just
that.
saying that they, a lot of the time
Everyone-
they don't even know what I'm doing. They just think I'm playing the game averagely and just getting pissy for no reason. So it's
You just suck at the game, and it's you're
well, I
dying
wouldn't
so
say I
often. It's
suck
like,
at
why
the
is-
game. I just I'm an average player, and they don't know otherwise. Just
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't bring me down off my high. All right, like come on.
Oh, but yeah, I've talked to people in the past about streaming. I've like just people in general. It's like, oh, especially when you look on Reddit, you get a lot of people on Reddit say, oh, how do you get good at being a Twitch streamer? And
Reddit.
it's such
Sorry,
a hard question. It's such a hard question to answer because there's so many ways to be a good streamer. You can have an enchanting personality. You could be a specialized game player, such as, like, I don't know, esports or retro games, whatever.
Yeah.
So you can have, you could be good at games. You can have, you could be like an artist. You could be whatever. And there's just so many ways to get a decent audience, especially nowadays with Twitch opening up more than just gaming. You've got IRL and you've got talk shows. You've got all sorts of things now that it just opens up for a wider audience. So it's such almost an impossible question to answer because there's so many factors you got to throw out there just to consider. Like if you say, oh, I'm doing this, I play these games, I've got this kind of personality, how do I implement a plan around that? It's still like you could you could be almost identical to someone else. You could be as good as another pro gamer, and you can still absolutely flop just because of luck.
Most of it is luck. And that's kind of something you have to accept. But at the same time, there are definitely things you can do to affect that, and that's kind of what a lot of people don't realize or take into account is that you can't just try the tried and true methods and expect it to just work. It's something that does take time. It doesn't give immediate results. And so, when they say like, do some networking, like, go into other channels and, join their communities and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're not necessarily going to get followers that way, but if you happen to become...
But it helps.
Yeah, no, if you happen to become well known in that community, and then if the chance where it comes up where you can mention that you stream, then all of a sudden all of these people that will now have the potential to follow you. Like it's stuff like that. Like you're not joining a community to plug yourself, you're joining a community to be in the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you're a part of the community, I guess those communities become almost like neighbors, I guess. Like going back to the community I'm largely a part of, which is Spaceman's. When I first watched him, he streamed with Pants and Spookus. Spookus doesn't stream anymore. I don't know what happened to him. He's just gone. But Pants, and then Pants streams with Bird 650, and then Bird streams with other streamers. And it's like,
and then PeekingBoo streams with...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I found you through Spaceman.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No,
and
I stream with Wolsk. Wolsk is a cool guy. He's my
I found Wolsk through you. I saw you were hosting him one time, and I found Wolsk, and it's like just by being part of a community links that community, and that's how I got into streaming. Like I was on Twitch for about 3 or 4 years, and I only really started streaming semi-seriously because obviously I've got real life responsibilities, so I only stream on like Friday, Saturday nights. Yeah. But like all of my friends, unlike you, you got no life, But like all of the people that ever watch me are all from friends I made online and then eventually added on Discord. And then I was just like, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but I'm going to be playing Mario Kart. Do you want to play with me, or do you want to watch, or whatever? And then
then all of a sudden you've already got viewers, even though you've done pretty much nothing,
I got a solid
because you've already
4
put
viewers.
the effort in. You've put the effort in prior, and
exactly.
And that's the thing. Like you might scoff at the fact that you have 4 viewers. Like you might be like, oh, I only have 4 viewers, but the thing is, like. It's you're 4 times bigger than the people that just have 1 viewer, and that's if that 1 viewer isn't themselves. A lot of the time, people don't think about joining communities, or they just think I'm gonna join this community to plug myself, and it doesn't work. But I like whenever someone says, "How do I get started on Twitch? Like, how do I become a streamer?" I say the first thing you do on Twitch is to not stream. Okay. If you start out on Twitch and you intend to stream, spend a few months watching people and being a part of someone's community. I think that learning how to be a community member and learning how a community can affect a streamer's career is
like vital to being a streamer, because if you don't understand how that works, I don't think it would really work out, because obviously, as I said, there's people out there who just stream and they might get one or two viewers from people who just find them from clicking games. And, you know, they just get random people that might pop in, and it might work that way. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I still think, like, fundamentally, if you want to build a community, it definitely helps to understand how community management and community participation works as a whole.
So that's where I went wrong. Okay. All right. We're learning things. We have to stop streaming.
All right.
And then we'll get back into it.
Go. I mean, if you've got a differing view,
No, I don't.
But, like,
no, it's no. That's honestly kind of how things started. I mean, except for the fact that I was already streaming. But when I first started streaming, I wasn't doing it with the illusions of grandeur or anything like that. You know, like I didn't expect to reach partnership. I wasn't trying to build a community or anything like that. What basically happened is, you know, once again jumping back to the Raisefire flashback, is his community was the first community I joined. So prior to that, I was a very small, like, tiny streamer, and so, you know, I mean, I didn't join his community, but, you know, I watched his streams and I chatted with people, and, you know, he recognized me when I talked in his chat, and he, you know, obviously
absolutely
he plugged me because he found me before I even, you know, kind of became established, and that really helped me out a lot. And then, you know, he raided me a couple of times, and that helped a lot too. But yeah, like, you know, that was kind of my first brush of community, I guess, was through his stream. So I think if I didn't have that, I would probably not be where I am at the moment. Like, I probably wouldn't have learned that lesson of joining communities and you know, getting to know other people. So yeah, it's like interesting. It's weird to think about.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's one of the things that you said once on stream was that you said that a lot of the time you get, you know, a couple of viewers watching you, but then it usually only picks up when people start rating you. I think something along those lines.
Did I?
And it baffles me, like, because it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you said something like most of your viewers were people who would enjoy your content, but they probably didn't follow or something. So they come from other streamers, they'll hang around and enjoy, and then they just leave or something. But, like, in a way, that's exactly how it works. Like, you make these connections with people, and they think you're a totally cool dude, and then they host you or raid you, and then people find you that way. And if they like you, they like you. If not, then they don't. Then
yeah, I think I remember slightly what I said.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was along the lines of typically people that stumble into my stream will see what I'm doing and go, "Holy crap, what are you doing?" And then, you know, they'll drop a follow and then completely forget about, you know, what they just saw. You know, they'll see PeekingBoo is live and they'll be like, "Who the hell is this?" And they won't even check him out. You know, if it's people coming from raids and stuff like that, you normally have the streamer first of all, you know, introducing who they're raiding, saying exactly why they're raiding them and stuff like that. You know, if they're a good streamer, which is something I never do. Whoops. But you know, they'll give a bit of backstory about, like, what the person does, or you know, if they get raided by someone, they'll mention what the streamer does as well. But but yeah, like, when you have that kind of, when you have the head of the community kind of endorsing another person, it makes people pay more attention, I think. And so when you get those sorts of follows, like follows from raids, the people associate it a bit more with, oh yeah, this is the guy that, you know, such and such raided, and I remember that was a really fun time, and so I'll go and check them out and see if it's still fun now. And so, you know, you kind of get that second chance instead of just the elevator pitch of, you know, you have to be good all the time for any random that comes in. Okay, so you know, just, we've been going for like an hour and 10 minutes now. So I just want to ask one thing that someone had literally just asked me now to ask you. Okay. Wait, who are you talking to?
No. It's someone, like, I asked people in my Discord, I was like, hey, do you have any questions that you want me to ask?
Goodness. Yeah,
and one of the questions I got was just, you know, do you get leg pains?
Okay. Well, that's Yeah, that wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a joke question.
No, but
okay.
like I guess like to elaborate on that, obviously doing like not to just specifically ask do you get leg pains, but I guess if you do DDR for so long, obviously you're going to get fitter in that aspect. But do you still get to a point where it's like even certain games, maybe for example, do they affect you differently to other games?
Yeah. So for the most part, I don't get any leg pains at all.
Okay.
And I mean, the longest stream I've ever done was 15 hours when I did the Super Mario 247.
Oh my god.
So that's the longest I've gone, and then the second longest was doing a 10-hour run of Splatoon 100%. But we're not going to go down that path. But long story short, I've been able to be on my feet for a long time. And in those situations, similar to just standing at a checkout or something like that for 10 hours, your feet start to hurt because it's just natural having your whole body weight on your legs like that. But no, there's never been any long-standing pain or trauma associated with it. It's actually mostly in my arms and my hands because I support a lot of my weight on my arms and hands to give myself more I guess more speed of movement, like if I don't have to lift my entire body weight with my legs, then I can quickly shift between buttons a lot easier. And so what you have is, I'm just kind of holding myself up on these two bars, and so my body weight is just going down on the palms of my hands, and after a long time they tend to give out before anything else.
Oh no, that makes sense. All right, so that's pretty much
everything
I've
audio just
wanted
cut
to cover.
out because I hit my speakers.
Oh, I didn't hear anything, dude. It's all good.
Okay,
all right, so thanks for this. That was actually really interesting stuff. If you guys thought that speedrunning with a DDR pad is crazy, trust me, it is. Go check them out on twitch.tv/PeekingBoo. Thank you, Boo.
/subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Speaking of subscriptions, it's my 2-month anniversary today. Dude, I've been watching you for so long. So long, it's been like a couple of months. But like, it's still in my 2-month anniversary. I feel bad about that.
Oh my goodness, you should totally resubscribe. Oh my god, you should resubscribe.
I already did, dude. Calm down.
Oh my gosh. Dude, it's been good. Thanks for having me.
This was actually really insightful, very interesting stuff. Like especially I love the Excel stuff. Okay, that stuff just blows me away. Okay. I just tell people, PeekingBoo, forget that he does DDR. Just he streams from Microsoft Excel.
Quiz him about his spreadsheet. That's what he wants. Just talk to him about that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Just talk to him about that. Forget what he's doing. Just that's
like,
it.
If we're in the end slate and we're being all casual now, like, seriously, there's like, it's not a pet peeve. I don't want to say that because it'll encourage people, but like, it's just one of those things where like, I'm speedrunning a game. I'm just trying to focus super hard on doing a thing, and then someone comes in and goes, so how do you do that? How do you program it that way? And I go, where do you want me to start? Do you want me to tell you like how where do you want me to start?
I'm pretty sure I did that, to be fair.
Oh, did you? Well, maybe that's where I'm getting it from.
That's probably where you get it from.
Yeah.
All right, well, all right, well, that's it for today. Thank you. I hope to see you guys in episode 3. It probably won't be for a couple of weeks. People are going to GDQ soon, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to record the next episode. So yeah, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Boo. I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you guys so much for watching episode 2 of Behind the Streams podcast. Episode 3 will be coming out sometime after SGDQ this year. If you enjoyed this, be sure to check out PeekingBoo at twitch.tv/PeekingBoo. He's an amazing dude, very talented, and I'm sure you guys would enjoy him. I'll see you guys in the next episode.